What's up, lovely people? Welcome back to my channel, Lorene HD, for a new video requested by some of you after I did a story poll on my Instagram asking you what you wanted to hear more about on this channel, and some of you answered disclosure. So it's a new video, but it's definitely not a new topic. I've made a video on disclosure a few years back, but I felt that it was a bit due for an update. Because for sure in these past years there's a lot of things that I would approach very differently from how I did a few years back. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna watch the video that I made 5 years ago, and I'm gonna pepper in the things that I would do differently, and then I'm gonna end with my updated spiel, if there is such a thing, of how I disclose my status to partners. Okay, here we go. Okay. Ooh, wow, video number 5. Okay, let's go.
In a previous video, I explained why you should absolutely tell your partners about your herpes status, and in this video, we're gonna go a little step further and get the answer. I want to start with the end. There is nothing you can do or say that will guarantee a positive outcome of the conversation or a positive response from the partner. I don't have a magic bullet for that because there just isn't. However,
okay, positive outcome of the conversation and positive response from the partner. That's true. I still don't have a magic bullet for that, but at that time I was thinking of positive outcome just in terms of partner's response, like whether they were going to accept you or reject you, which is a very binary way of thinking of this conversation. So since then, I've kind of reframed a little bit this disclosure outcome point of view, which is in a video that I'm gonna link if you want to dive deeper into this point of view. But to kind of like make it short, instead of focusing on what the outcome of that conversation will be, try to focus on the income, if that makes sense. Or instead of focusing on what you will get from your partners or potential partners from that conversation, try to focus on what you're putting in. Okay, so instead of thinking, am I going to be accepted or rejected, try to think, how am I going to show up to this conversation? Like, how can I show up in my highest self? How can I show up with integrity, right? And then regardless of, the partner's response or whatnot, I think try to move away from thinking of it as like accepted or rejected, as if those were the only two options and there was like nothing in the middle, because most of the time, from my experience and from the experience of many people who write me and tell me about their disclosure experiences, what happens is that you get a lot of respect, you get a lot of trust from partners. Partners value you a lot for, showing up with this information in a timely manner. Okay, let's keep going.
Here we go. The first one, don't talk about how it's got, talk about what it is. STIs, STDs, like infection, disease, like all those words are alarming by nature, but they fail to convey useful information. As you probably know, not all.
Yes, for that. Do talk about what you have in terms of the nature of what you have rather than how it's contracted. Yes to this point. Very, very progressive, Lorene from 2016.
Don't assume that because they have heard a lot about it, they know a lot about it. So this is where there's a little bit of homework to do on your part. Since they're likely not to know a lot about stats, it's important that you are the first source of knowledge and information in case they have questions, and trust me, they will.
Okay. Nay on this one. Why? Yes on educating yourself, right? But you should not become your potential partner's only source of sexual health information just because you have contracted something or you are telling them that you are living with a condition. Okay? If they have internet, if they are on social media, they have access to this information as well. So you can absolutely be, the person who answers questions for their potential partners if you're comfortable doing so. But you can also tell them, I'm letting you know this. How about you do a little bit of research and then we have another catch up where we can talk about, if you have any questions, if there's anything that is unclear. Why? Because sometimes partner or potential partners' questions can be stigmatizing a little bit without them realizing, right? But they can ask things that kind of interfere or that activate some of the pain that we're trying to heal still. So in order not to get caught up in this, and in order not to feel the weight of, the health dynamic between you two, I would suggest, yes, on educating yourself, yes, on collecting stats, all of that, but do that for yourself and don't feel like you have inherited this, doctor or like sex educator role just because you are living with this condition. All right, let's keep going.
3, don't just tell them that you have it, tell them what you're doing about it. So you just let someone know that you are aware of the virus in your body and that you are pretty on top of your game when it comes to being informed about it. Awesome. Now the next step is to let them know what you're doing to prevent the flare-ups from happening. Do you take vitamin?
Ooh, okay. No. First of all, the only person you're accountable to for your health is yourself, okay? You do not have to justify what drugs you're on, what vitamins you take, what you eat, what you don't eat, how you manage your stress. Like, all of these are personal information that you really don't have to offer upfront. If they ask and you're comfortable answering, by all means, go ahead. But I don't believe that this belongs to the first, lines that you include when you disclose your status. I also feel like including this is kind of trying to minimize their perception of risk and trying to maximize their confidence that somehow transmission is something that you're on top of because of everything that you do. And again, if they are trying, or if you want to convey that you value their consent, like, the proof is already in the pudding. The proof is in the fact that you are letting them know that you live with this condition and that you want to give them the ability to choose whether to step into this intimacy with you, and so on and so forth. So going back to the old model of like rejected or accepted, you shouldn't articulate your disclosure to be accepted or to minimize the risk of being rejected. I think you should disclose to let them know and empower them to make the decision that they want on their terms. Okay, moving on. Point number 4.
4, don't handle it as a monologue and open up the conversation. There is something here working in your advantage, which is that herpes is incredibly common, so chances are that your potential partner here knows someone or knows someone who knows someone who has herpes.
Okay, yes to this one. There's a wonderful activist in the STI awareness community called Courtney Brame. I actually interviewed him on my channel. There's like 3 videos of interview with him. So if you want to dive deeper into Courtney, feel free to check out those videos. But he reframes disclosures as discussions. And I think this is a helpful reframe just to have the right expectation in mind of what is going to happen. It's not like, you disclose your status and then, you move on to another conversation, or it's about like an interview to you and your health. Like, no, it's actually a discussion, meaning it's a 2-way dialogue between you and this potential partner. Now, the examples that I included in my video from 4 or 5 years ago were around whether your potential partner knew someone who had the same condition as you, if they had, any experience with people who had the same condition as you. Now, I would also very much advise to include questions a lot more about their sexual health. When were they last tested? What were they tested for? What were their results? What is their STI testing routine? Like, how often do they get tested? All of these questions will get you very valuable information that you want to have before deciding to be intimate with them, right? So this is not just like them deciding if they want to be intimate with you. You should also decide if you want to be intimate with them on other basis than just, I like this person. Okay, last point, the 5th one.
And the 5th and last one, don't be ashamed
Yes.
Whether it was with your boyfriend, with a stranger, for your first time, 100th time, protected or unprotected, in all those case scenarios, there is a risk.
Yes. Okay. Yes. A big yes to this fifth point. Confidence, self-acceptance, de-dramatization. Like, yes, yes, yes. What you say is as important as how you say it. So make sure you look after your posture, your tone of voice, your eye contact. Like, make sure that your body is saying the same thing as your words. And just remember that the only thing that you did to contract this was having sex. So nothing, nothing shameful about this. And that on top of that, you are a responsible sexually active person by letting your partner or potential partner know of your status before anything happens on an intimate level between you two. So you're a 10. Okay, now that we've reviewed the 5 points that I included in my video from 5 years ago, there are a few things that I want to include in there. The first thing is to establish boundaries for yourself. If you have any pet peeves around this conversation, do say so. Okay, so for example, for me, I hate, I want to choke people when they ask me, so how'd you contract it? Like, how did you end up with this? So instead of leaving it up to them to step into this red area, I just say it right off the bat. I disclose to them that I have herpes on my genitals, and I say, by the way, please don't ask me how I contracted this, because there's no other answer I could give you than by being sexually active. So this way they kind of also know, okay, I shouldn't ask this, but also not all questions are up for grabs. Like, I should be mindful of what I ask, which makes them enter this conversation space a little bit more aware of what, maybe not just what is okay and not okay, but just there are things that are not okay to ask her. The second thing that I want to add is, don't apologize for having herpes or whatever other incurable STI you have, okay? You didn't do anything wrong to contract this. You should not justify how you contracted it, and there is no better or worse way to contract it. And I'm saying this because sometimes in some people's minds there is this like invisible scale of, I'm gonna make up a word, deservedness of contracting herpes. For example, they got cheated on, didn't deserve to contract herpes. They got sexually assaulted, didn't deserve to get herpes. They were sleeping around, they deserve to get herpes. They didn't use protection, they deserve to get herpes. Okay, none of that. No. This scale is BS, okay? It's stigma talk. No one deserves to contract herpes, because contracting herpes or any other incurable STI is not a punishment. It is not a punishment for being sexually active. Like, that is sex negativity in our culture, making us believe that. So if you catch yourself thinking that, check yourself. And if you have in front of you someone who uses your personal story to determine whether they want to be intimate with you or not, run, okay? Big red flag. Walk away. You deserve intimacy in your life regardless of your status and regardless of how you came to contract whatever you're living with. And the third and last point that I want to include is choose your preferred medium. Because the last video that I made kind of put the emphasis on in-person disclosure. And again, there are benefits of in-person disclosure, but this is just an option. It is a way for you to disclose. There are other ways, you can send a text, you could do it via voice note, like whatever your creativity recommends you to do. Those are valuable ways. There's pros and cons, of course, in each of these ways, but don't, limit yourself to thinking this is only something that you can have in person, because it doesn't have to be. Okay, so keep your options open to whatever feels more comfortable to you. Also, include your sexual health preferences. If you prefer using condoms, say so. If you're not on, if you're a uterus owner and you're not on birth control, say so. Like, this is a conversation that is more than just about STIs, it's about sexual health. So include all the things that are present and important in your sexual health. Okay, so last point, how do I disclose to partners that I have genital herpes? Again, this is not something that I recommend you to use, but it is very much a template that you can adapt to what feels right for you, what feels comfortable to you, so on and so forth. Here we go. Hey, so before things get sexy between us, I want us to take a moment and talk about our sexual health. So on my side, about 7 or 8 years ago, I got diagnosed with genital herpes. So it's basically like cold sores appearing on my genital area. And I don't know how much you know about it, but I think you should definitely do some research. And if there's anything that you want us to talk about, I'm definitely open to having a conversation about it. But as a rule of thumb, I always use condoms. I want to use condoms also because I'm not on birth control. So there's 2 reasons. And yeah, how about you? When were you last tested? What were your results? And please do not ask me how I ended up contracting herpes, because there's no other answer that I could give you than just by being sexually active. If you think this video was helpful, please leave a thumbs up, and if you have your own tips on how to disclose, as usual, feel free to include them in the comments below. What to include, what to exclude, whatever it is that is in your own secret sauce, in the comments below. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. That's it. You got this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Ciao.